Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. How is everyone? It is time for an episode of Conversations of Support with me, Laura. And it is Friday, July 3rd. So tomorrow is the 4th. So happy 4th of July. So I decided to wear my patriotic shirt for you today. How is everyone doing today? It's Friday. I come live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and today's topic is all about aches and pains and moans and groans. So, how many of us feel like all we're doing is complaining? Are we complaining too much? Are we complaining about everything? It seems to be that we're all focusing on negatives right now instead of a lot of the positives. For example, yesterday I did a lot of physical work out in my yard, doing a lot of weeding for several hours. Hey Donna, how are you? And my body hurt after I was done. Now, granted, I'm not the most physically fit person in the world, but I also do have chronic kidney disease, which means that I have a harder time staying hydrated, and I do get tired easily. So yesterday, after I was done getting all my weeding done, I felt like every joint in my body hurt. So I could barely walk and everything. So, which just made me feel old, right? But I had to stop myself from just wanting to complain about it all the time, and just say, oh, stop moaning and groaning. So the flip side, to focus on the positive, meant that I can now come out here and be happy and look at the driveway, because we have a gravel driveway here. And when we pull the car in now, I don't have to see all those weeds that were down there. So it's a different perspective. And yes, we're allowed to complain and be frustrated because maybe our body is hurting and everything like that. But if we only focus on that, then that those feelings of pain and everything are just going to stick with us, right? So instead, to help myself, even though physically I was still hurting, to help myself mentally and emotionally, I have to flip it and I have to focus on the positives out there. So the positives are, I got that weeding done. I did it. But the other part of it too is that, I have to listen. We have to listen to our bodies. And if you do suffer from some type of a chronic illness or disease or something like that, you need to listen to your body. And if your body's telling you to rest, rest. I feel so much better today. So it's kind of funny. I think I just needed to rest yesterday after I was done and let my body rehydrate. I drank my water and all that stuff. So one of the quotes I found says, being able to walk pain-free is a blessing. Being able to walk without showing the pain is a skill. So that's an interesting thought too. There are many people out there who suffer all the time with pain and barely get around. It could be from arthritis. It could be from old age. It could be from some other type of physical ailment that we don't know about. So many of the illnesses out there can be somewhat invisible to others. So, but to be able to still function in life and get all your tasks done and get everything done with that you want to get done, but without showing that you're in pain, that takes a lot out of a person. That can physically wear you down emotionally too, if you feel like you have to put out on that front, that tough front to everybody all the time. So it's okay to let people know that you're not feeling well, and it's okay to let yourself rest, because we're not going to be able to help anybody else out or complete our tasks or do anything if we are depleted, right? Let's see. Another thought is, I am constantly torn between I can't let this illness ruin my life, and I have to listen to my body and rest. Those of you who know me, my son, who is 24, has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, He can't walk. He uses a wheelchair to get around. And he hasn't walked. He's 24, but he hasn't walked since he was 10. You know, now he could always focus and be grumpy about the fact that he can't walk, but that wheelchair gave him an independence. He uses a power wheelchair, gave him an independence so that he can be positive. He can say, we can go out together, we can still go do things. You know, life doesn't have to stop just because one portion of ourselves stops working the way it was meant to. You know, so just because he can't walk doesn't mean he can't enjoy his life and all that. But what it does mean is that there are going to be days where he's not feeling great, and he is willing and able to let us know that, and then we don't go out that day. You know, he's entitled to a day of rest just like anybody else. So numbing the pain for a while will make it worse when you finally feel it. That can be applied to so many things. That can be emotional pain, that could be physical pain, that could be spiritual pain. You know, if we numb it with painkillers, whatever it may be, whether they're over-the-counter painkillers or they are illegal ones, you know, like alcohol or drugs and things like that, if we're numbing our pain, it's going to hurt 10 times worse when we do let yourselves feel it. So, you know, hey, Sherry and Suzanne, talking about aches and pains today, and how to live with chronic pain, and how to live with, good morning, Joshua, how to not feel like we're going to complain all the time, every day, about every little thing in life, and instead of focusing on the negatives, we do have to give ourselves permission to know that sometimes we have to flip it around and find the positive in the situation. You know, like I was using the example of my son. You know, he hasn't walked since age 10, and he's 24 now. He could always be miserable and all of that, but when he got his power wheelchair, that gave him an independence, and that gave him a sense of confidence to know that life doesn't stop just because he stopped walking, right? And then the other last one that I put on there was, my body is experiencing technical difficulties right now. And so many of us are going through that, whether it's because of a disease, because we're just getting plain old older, and you know, learning how to not focus on all the negatives. And there's so many negatives out there around us in our society right now. There's so many negatives of people just screaming that they're unhappy, and that we're all screaming for acceptance and acknowledgement and cohesion to be able to work as a community. But sometimes I think we're just focusing on all the negatives, all the had-beens, all the, you know, well, this happened, so, you know, we need to do this. Let's focus on the positives too, because if we only focus on the negatives, what's the kind of emotion that you're going to share the most? You're going to be a cranky person, right? And nobody really wants to hang out with cranky people, whether we are inclusive or not, right? So let's take the time. If you feel yourself having aches and pains and moans and groans and complaining about everything, whether it's physical stuff happening to you, whether it's emotional stuff happening to you, look at it and find that silver lining, find that positive thing that you can grab hold on, so it can help you flip your mindset and not focus just on the negatives. And hopefully, if you practice doing that skill enough times, we can still advocate for change, we can still advocate for improvement, whether it's improving our own physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, our society as a whole. We can do it without always using the negatives that have happened or are happening to get those things done, that we should be able to continue moving forward, but using the positives that are being done and highlight them and expose those skills and traits and show people how to be positive so that we can all be happy people as a happy community, as a happy species of humans out there. You know, so many of us are just complaining, and once you start complaining, it's so easy to stay in that mindset of just let's nitpick and find everything to complain about. So what are you doing today to help yourself not complain about something? Have you looked for a positive story to share? Have you looked for a way to give yourself some rest if you are struggling physically, like I was yesterday? My body hurt so much yesterday, but I just went to bed earlier and I rested, you know. And today I think I'm going to take it easy. It's supposed to be a pretty hot one today, so I think I'm going to pace myself. I still have some stuff outside that I could do physically, like raking leaves and things like that I didn't get done yesterday. But I know my body that if I try and do it 2 days in a row, it's going to hurt me worse. So I am going to pace myself, and I'm going to listen to my body. Hey, Brad and Michael, how are you? I'm going to be okay knowing that I'm going to sit in the sun today, and I'm going to read my book, and I'm going to finish resting so that tomorrow when I get back out there, when it's going to be a little cooler, then my body hopefully won't hurt as much as it did last night from, you know, doing that yard work, you know. So tune into what your body's telling you. And yes, sometimes we do have to push through that pain just a little bit to get through in order to finish a task, but don't push so hard that you do more damage. Okay? And that goes not just for your own physical body, but your emotional body, your spiritual body, and your mental health overall. You know, take time to find what is it that's causing you to complain, and is there a way to flip that complaint into a compliment or into a positive viewpoint. So compliment yourself on whatever task it is that you got done, even if you feel like horrible afterwards physically because you overdid it. Flip it around and compliment yourself on achieving and completing that task, you know. Then be okay with making sure you rest, you know. So take care of yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually, and your whole being, okay? So I hope everybody has a wonderful 4th of July. Let me read what Joshua says. It is important to remember that Jesus came away from the crowds to get a little spiritual and physical refreshment. That is so very true. Exactly. You know, he listened to himself. He knew what he needed to be able to, what he needed to do for himself in order to help all of us, right? So, you know, we need to follow that trend too, and we shouldn't feel guilty about it, and we shouldn't blame ourselves or blame anyone else if you think that they're not doing something. We don't know their whole story, right? So, you know, make sure before you're complaining about a situation or what you think someone else is doing, think about, you know, be careful, because we don't know what they're going through. This might be their day of rest, you know. It doesn't always happen. Those days of rest don't have, oh goodness, I can't talk, have to happen on a Sunday, right? It can happen any day during the week. So, you know, so take time to look at yourself, and if you're hurting, reach out for support. If it's a mental health issue, if it's an emotional, spiritual hurt that's making you feel like you've got to complain, or that you're hurting and you have those aches and pains, reach out to someone who you feel that you can trust to just share those complaints with, and get it out of your system, and then let that person help you find a way to feel better about that situation, or to find a new perspective. If it's a physical hurt, make sure if you need to talk to a doctor, talk to a doctor. My husband, he's had a bad spider bite on his leg, and he finally went to the doctors yesterday. And sure enough, he does have an infection. So now he's got his medicine. So hopefully, after taking the medicine yesterday and today, he'll start noticing that he's going to feel better. But we can't wait until the last minute to try and make ourselves physically better. If you think something's going on wrong that you're not familiar with, maybe it's something you do deal with on a regular basis, and you know how to conquer and make it better, then that's great, and that's fine. But if it's something new, then only give it a day or two maybe before you reach out to a doctor, or go to one of those patient first type places, and get some help. Let somebody who is trained in that area look at your situation and see if you do need a medicine. Sometimes it's just as simple as that. So exactly. So we're glad, and Joshua, this is nothing against men, but sometimes, at least in our family, my men folk here are a little on the stubborn side, and they don't like to take care of themselves, or put themselves at the top of the list, So I'm glad he finally did it. You knew he wasn't feeling well if he was the one who said, I need to go get this checked out now. So I didn't have to push him to go do it. So we're proud of him for doing that, and I will admit, sometimes even as mom, I put my own physical health needs last and make sure that everybody else is okay first. So sometimes, it's not being selfish. It is taking care of yourself. And it's because if you get run down so much that you now require more rest or more assistance than you're usually needing, you can't help anybody else out. So, what's that saying? You have to refill yourself before you can help fill the cup of another person. So make sure your cup is full too. So thank you, Joshua. I appreciate the prayers. Appreciate that, because he's the one who does all the physical lifting of our son. So if he has some physical issues, it affects us a little bit more here, because we all know the boys are stubborn and they don't like to use the equipment that we might have. But that's a story for another day. But anyway, my focus today is to just remember, it's so easy to fall into that trap of just moaning and groaning and complaining about everything, whether it's stuff we see on TV, stuff we see on social media, stuff we are feeling with, if it's a physical pain or whatever, but we can't stay in that mindset of just the moaning and groaning, right? We need to find and help ourselves focus on some of those positive things that are happening out there in the world, and reshare a positive post on if you're on social media today. Go share something positive that can encourage people and help us all find. We're all struggling to find things not to complain about, and so exactly, especially during this time. So I think we need to counterbalance talking about those negatives that need to be changed, but also reminding ourselves that there has been positive stuff going on that may have been overshadowed now because of all the talk about the negative stuff. And maybe we need to flip that, or at least even it out a little bit more, so that we're not all just struggling with and listening to just complaints, right? So I hope everybody has a safe, quiet 4th of July. We're not going anywhere. We're going to stay home, eat what food we have in here. Hubby might try and go to the grocery store for us, but You know, we're not going out anywhere. If you are going out with a group, please practice your social distancing, wear your face mask, wash your hands, all that good stuff. Let's not have this holiday weekend turn into something that we're going to complain about later, right? So, and as always, I hope everyone finds something good to focus on today. And I hope that if you do need to go out and you have to wear your face mask, please smile. I've got plenty of my laugh lines. I hope you can see when I'm smiling at you, even if I'm wearing a face mask, because I know I am. So, I hope just everyone enjoys their family time, okay? So, and to your family too, Joshua, and I will see everyone back here on Monday, and we'll have, if as always, if you have a topic that you'd like to talk about, please post it in the comments or send me a private message and let me know, because I'd love to hear new ideas on what you want to talk about. And until then, have a wonderful weekend. Happy 4th of July. And I will see you all on Monday. Okay? Thanks. Bye.